The ASEAN region occupies less than 1% of the Earth's surface. Yet in this small space, over 14,000 plant species can be found. Thanks to pollination, the process of transferring pollen from one flower to another, that results in reproduction in flowering plants, we have fruits to eat and seeds that will grow into more plants. Some plants are able to self-pollinate. This means that a single plant can produce fruits and eventually another plant all by itself. However, more plants go through cross-pollination. That is, when the pollen from a flowering plant is transferred to the flower of another plant in order to reproduce. The wind helps in this process. But there are more effective agents of pollination. These are the small creatures we call pollinators, which easily transfer pollen grains from one plant to another of the same species. When a pollinator visits a flower to feed, pollen grains stick to its body. The pollen grains then get transferred when our little helper visits another plant. The ASEAN region benefits from these wonderful pollinators in a lot of ways. The value of pollinator services in sustaining biodiversity and food security is about $182 billion every year. And the pollinators do it free of charge. Let's stop treating pollinators like they're pests. Give them the credit they're due and help them out instead. The ASEAN region is home to a variety of pollinators, such as wasps, butterflies, bats, and birds. The most commonly known pollinators in the region are bees, with 8 honeybee species and 27 bumblebee species. That is more than enough, you may say, but not really. A decline in the number of pollinator species would lead to decreased crop production, reduced essential ecosystem services, and lower plant species diversity. If there are not enough pollinators to visit plants and distribute seeds, thousands of plant species will dwindle, and many will not survive. Animals that feed on these plants will have fewer sources of food and will eventually starve. In the long run, that will happen to us too. To prevent this, people must ensure the continued survival of pollinators. To help our environmental allies, we must identify all threats to their survival. These are land use change from illegal cutting and clearing, unsustainable intensive agriculture methods and environmentally harmful pesticide use, unsustainable harvesting practices and localized consumption of some pollinator species, environmental pollution, invasive alien species, pathogens, and climate change. What must we do? Fight invasive alien species? Stop climate change? Yes, all of us can help. We can practice pollinator-friendly and nature-based solutions such as composting, using natural barriers, companion planting to manage plant pests, and minimizing pesticide use. Since some plants have evolved to be pollinated by a particular group of pollinators, we have to adopt organic and diversified farming practices. Let us plant a variety of pollinator-friendly plant species all year round. We'll be able to provide food and refuge for our pollinators while having a lovely flower-filled garden. And please, help out in the communication, education, and public awareness activities for all sectors. Each of us has a role in the conservation of pollinators. Learn more by reading and watching educational materials on pollinators. Ask your local policymakers to support pollinator-friendly practices in agriculture. Encourage others to help. All of these are important actions. Let's start right now.